All right, I am recording this so kids can see it later on. Okay. We have to look at banking, interest, and exponents. All right, let's start with exponents. That was page, what, page 3? What, 3 something? Where did I get that? End of the year review, 3 exponents. Page 327. So we'll look at page 327 here. Okay, this was done last Wednesday, I do believe. So about a week ago. All right, so looking at page 327, we have, I think you guys did even problems on it. So looking at number 2, I don't know, Ryan, if you've done this before. Have you done the factoring?
Yeah, I did that in 5th grade.
Okay, so we need to break.
Number 2.
Okay. So we need to break down 32. Okay, so like you can choose either 16 and 2 or you can choose 8 and 4. I'm going to choose 8 and 4 because 8 times 4 is 32. Okay, and we need to get it down to prime numbers. So what times what is 4?
2.
2. So 2 times 2 is 4, and then 4 times 2 is 8. 4 can be broken down further to 2 times 2. Okay, so now we have all prime numbers left. Our final answer should be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which in exponents is what? 2 to the what power?
2 to the 5th?
Yes. There's 5 2's. So 2 to the 5th power, by the way, if we do it in our head, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. So we have found the prime factors of 32. All right, looking at let's look at number 7. I don't think you had to do this one, but we'll just look at some odd ones too. Number 7, 10 to the 4th power means 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Good news is, I like to just add all the zeros together. We get 10,000. 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000, times 10 is 10,000. Any questions on that?
No.
All right, now exponents with fractions, let's look at 20. And you should have some answers written down, right, for the even ones?
Yeah, I have answers for all even.
So good, you're checking your answers as we go. So number 20, 4/7 squared really means 4 squared over 7 squared.
1649.
So you should have gotten 16/49. You have to distribute this out evenly to top and to bottom. Number 21, they cubed it. Same idea though. 1 cubed over 3 cubed. Well, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 3 times 3 is
27.
27. 3 times 3 is 9. Times 3 is 27. Good. Uh-oh, someone's waiting. Faith, we are on page 327. Number 24, the square root of 64 is really meaning what times what is equal to 64. That is the same number. 8.
8.
So the square root of 64 is 8. Okay, you wouldn't put 8 times 8, you would just write the number 8. Okay, so number 25 is 12. What is 26? 6. Yeah, 6 times 6 is 36. If you know your multiplication tables, it's very easy. Like exponents, square roots work the same way. So on number 31, the square root of 9/25 is really saying the square root of 9 over the square root of 25. What should be our final answer?
3/5.
Yeah, so the square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 25 is 5. Our final answer should be 3/5 because 3 times 3 is 9. So we take 1 3. 5 times 5 is 25. We use 1 5. Okay. That is the exponent lesson. Are there any questions on that page that were a little confusing?
No, I'm not.
How about you, Faith? Can you hear me, Faith?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Anything on page 327?
I think I got it.
Okay. Let's turn to lesson 159, page 287. Interest equals principal times rate times time. That's a fancy way of saying the money I make on my money is equal to how much money I have times how much I'm getting back, which is the rate, times how much time I'm going to give my money away to make interest. Okay? So that's a much more simple way of understanding it. So on page 287, all you need to do is plug in the numbers. So let's look at 3A. Our principal is 500. Our rate is 9%, but we need that in decimal form. What is 9% in decimal form?
0.09.
0.09. Times time, which is 1 year, which is just 1. Okay? So really all we need to do is multiply, because 1 times anything doesn't matter. Okay, so we don't really need to do anything with that. So all we need to do is multiply 500 times 0.09. So 9 times 0 is 0, 9 times 0 is 0, 9 times 5 is 45. 2 decimal places in our problem, 2 added into our answer. Our interest is $45. If I put $500 in the bank for a year at 9% interest, I make $45 by the end of that year. (3B). We have 3,500 at 12%, which is point what? 0.12 for 1 year. Again, times anything by 1, we can cross out that out. It's already done, right? So all we need to do is 3,500 times 0.12. And you should have this work done in your book. You should have gotten $420 of interest at 12% over 1 year. Okay. Looking at letter C, half a year. What do you think a half year should be put in for this formula?
0.5.
0.5 or 1/2. Either way will do, okay? 0.1 times 0.5, that's a harder one to do in your head unless you just think about it. 5 times 1 is 5. There's 2 decimal places, so 0.05. Good. So then we just got to multiply by 0.05. So we get $12.50. Letter D, the hard part is that interest rate is 0.055 on letter D. 0.055. Letter E, 0.1275.
Yeah, I have a question about the 0.175.
0.1275?
Yeah.
Letter E.
Wait, no, never mind.
You understand?
Yeah, I know, but I thought it's 3/4 now, and I understand that.
Okay. You just got to convert the fraction first and then move the decimal twice. All right, that was the lesson 158. Let's look, or sorry, 159. So let's look at lesson 160 now, page 289. Page 289, the difference is we need to multiply by non-years, okay? So on letter A, you should do 200. Oh, 3A. Sorry, 3A. 200 times 0.05 times 1/2 or 0.5, okay? So let's see if we can do this in our head. 0.5 times 0.05 is, so 5 times 5 is 25. There are there are 3 decimal places in our problem, so we add them into our answer. Now you don't have to do it that way. You can choose any 2 numbers to multiply first, okay? The easiest way would be 1/2 of 200 is what? What's 1/2 of 200?
100.
So you can actually do it 2 different. You can multiply any 2 numbers together first, and you will get the same answer. 100 times 0.05 is, well, 5 times 100 is 500. Add 2 decimal places in your answer. We get 5. 200 times 0.025, 25 times 2 is 50. Add the 2 zeros, 5,000. But then we have to add 3 decimal places back in. We get 5. Okay? So no matter what 2 numbers you multiply first, you will get the same answer. Okay? 3B. 700 times 0.12 times what? What is 2 months as a decimal or a fraction? 2 months of a year is what? What? 1/6. Because of the nature of 1/6, it's a repeating decimal, it's best to leave it in fraction form. So, because of that, we can do a couple things. What I would do is change the whole problem into fraction form, and then you can reduce, okay? So 700 over 1 times 12 over 100 times 1 over 6. And right here we can go 2, 1. Okay. And I think we can go 7, 1 by diagonal. By diagonal simplification. Okay. So 7 times 2 times 1 is 14. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. See how easy that was? Our answer is $14. So you can actually do diagonal simplification with more than 2 fractions. Okay? So I did it between 6 and 12 there, and I did it between 700 and 100. So 700 became 7 by dividing by 100. 100 became 1. 12 became 2. 6 became 1. So nice and easy. Now you don't have to do it that way. You could actually multiply by decimals and do it the normal way that we've learned in class. Okay? But if you can handle that mentally, it's actually a much simpler way of doing the math. Okay? So let's look at letter D then. We'll look at this again. 2,500 times 0.08. What is 3 months of a year, fraction-wise?
1/4.
1/4.
So 0.25 and
So you could do 0.25 times 0.08 times 2,500. That's the normal way. The way I like to do it is make it all fractions. Now that they're all fractions, we can do diagonal simplification. So any diagonals we can simplify. 25 and 100 becomes 25 and 1. See that? And then 8 and 4 becomes 2 and 1. So now all we need to do is multiply across. 25 times 2 times 1 is 50. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. Our answer then would be $50. Way easier, okay? You don't have to do it that way if it messes with your mind. You could do, like I think Ryan or Joshua said, 0.25 times 0.08 times 2,500, okay? But if you make them all fractions and do simplification by diagonals, I prefer that way mentally for me, but I like fractions, they don't bother me, okay? So is there any questions on that? So to show you the normal way, 2,500 times 1/4, or 0.25. I'm going to use my calculator. Is 625. Okay, and then we got to multiply by 0.08. Which gets us 50. We got the answer either way, either the decimal form or the fraction form. For me, the fraction form is much more, I guess, maybe fun and simple, okay? But the decimal form also works perfectly well. Math usually has more than one path to get the right answer. Let's do one more, 3E. 930 times, what's 6% as a decimal?
0.06.
0.06. And what is 8 months of a year? What is a fraction of that? 8 over 12, which is 2/3. Okay. Again, I like making fractions. Remember, 6/100 literally means 6 over 100. That's how I make those fractions. Okay. Looks like you can reduce 930 by 10. And 6 and 3 by 3. And then 10 and 2 by 2. So that's a fun one. 93 times 2 is 186 on top. And 1 times 5 times 1 is 5 on bottom. As you can see, this is not going to be a whole number answer, right? We get, so 5 into 18 is 3. 5 into 36 is 7. Remainder 1. 1/5 of $1 is 20 cents, right? You should have gotten $37.20. So again, you can, I mean, you can diagonally, you can diagonally simplify any number of multiplied fractions, okay? You could choose to do any, there we go. Any diagonal simplification you can find, okay? So like if it was 4 fractions, we could do the same thing. Not that we're going to do it, I'm just showing you that it is possible. All right, from the last week or so, are there any questions from the quiz that you took or the math test or any math assignments that we did that you would like to go over from the last few days?
No.
No? Faith, how about you?
I don't get the extracting the square root. I don't know.
So to find a square root, you need to multiply two numbers that are the same number to that number. Okay? So the square root of 144, where are you looking? Which page are you looking at?
I'm looking at 281.
Page 280 what?
281.
Page 281. Where do you see extracting square roots? Where do you see that word extracting at?
It's on the top where the formula is.
Oh, okay. So what extracting means is finding the square root, okay? So we talked about this at the very beginning of class online here. So the square root of 64 is asking what number times what number that is the same number that equals 64. So we talked about 8 times 8 is 64. So the square root of 64 is the answer 8. Okay? To show you this visually, what is the answer to 8 squared? What?
I
8 squared means 8 times 8. So the answer then is 64. The square root of 64 is equal to 8 times 8, so the answer is 8. You see the pattern there?
Yeah.
So the square root of 64 is trying to find the number that multiplies by itself to get to 64. It's the opposite direction of exponents. Exponents go up in size and value because 8 squared is 64. Square root is trying to find that original number and give it as an answer. Okay, so 10 squared means 10 times 10, which is equal to 100. Okay, so when I ask what the square root of 100 is, what do you think the answer is?
Ten?
10. Yeah, because 10 times 10 is 100, so the square root of 100 is 10. The number that multiplied by itself to get to 100 was 10. 10 times 10 was 100. You're looking for that duplicate number, so that's what square root means. We're trying to find that duplicate number, okay? So the square root of 64 then what is what, Faith? What times what is 64 that's the same number? 8. What's the square root of 16? Same number that multiplies together. Nope, 8 times 8 is 64. What number times what number that's the same number equals 16? 7? Nope, 7 times 7 is 49.
I don't know that one.
4 times 4 is equal to 16. Okay. What's the square root of 9? What number times what number equals 9? That's the same number. 3. Okay. Square root of 121. What number times what number that is the same number? If you don't know your multiplication tables, this is a lot harder.
I know my multiplication.
Because you got to think of the number that is the same number that multiplies twice to get to 121.
Oh, 11?
11. 11 times 11 is 121. So the square root of 121 is 11. Okay? You can keep going with this. Square root of 400. This is a tough one. Nope. What? 20. 20 times 20 is 400. So that is your answer. Okay, so square root is a number times a number. I am on the last of my battery power. I got to log off. So you can email me other questions you have. I'm going to put this video up for other kids to see. Okay, so good talking to you, and keep trying hard, and a couple more weeks left. So, all right. Signing off.